The 1970s, an era of unforgettable melodies, golden voices, and timeless songs. But behind those beautiful lyrics and legendary performances, there were stories filled with heartbreak, pain, and tragedy. These are songs that touched millions, yet were born from suffering their creators could never escape. This is 10 songs from the 1970s with tragic backstories. Number 10, Time in a Bottle. Jim Croce, 1973. Jim Croce wrote Time in a Bottle as a love letter to his unborn son. It was about cherishing every fleeting moment, a father's quiet promise to hold on to time itself. The song's lyrics feel like a whisper, gentle, reflective, and filled with longing for the future. But fate was cruel. Just months after the song hit the charts, Croce died in a plane crash at the age of 30. The man who wanted to capture time had his own stolen away in an instant. What was meant as a celebration of life became an anthem of loss. Today, Time in a Bottle stands as a haunting reminder that even the most tender dreams can end without warning, and that sometimes a legacy is written in the silence that follows. Number 9, Cats in the Cradle. Harry Chapin, 1974. Harry Chapin's Cats in the Cradle told the story of a father too busy for his son. A song about missed chances and painful realizations. Every verse carried a warning, urging listeners not to let life's precious moments slip away. Ironically, Chapin's own life mirrored the song's message. He was constantly touring, barely home with his family, chasing a dream that cost him the very time he sang about. Then in 1981, tragedy struck when Chapin was killed in a car crash, only 38 years old. Cats in the Cradle became his legacy, a prophecy fulfilled. The song that reminded the world to slow down now serves as a permanent echo of what he never got back, time with the ones he loved. Number 8, Vincent, Don McLean, 1971. Don McLean's Vincent is a masterpiece of empathy, a song written for the tortured artist Vincent van Gogh. McLean painted Van Gogh's pain with words, describing the beauty and madness that consumed the painter's life. "This world was never meant for one as beautiful as you," he wrote, a line that still cuts deep. But Vincent was also personal. McLean saw himself in Van Gogh's loneliness, his struggle to be understood in a world that only applauded after the suffering. The song wasn't just admiration, it was identification. Each note of Vincent feels like a cry for compassion, for all the brilliant souls who suffer in silence. It's not only Van Gogh's story, but the story of every artist who's felt unseen, unheard, and alone in their brilliance. Number 7, Wish You Were Here. Pink Floyd, 1975. Wish You Were Here wasn't written about love or fame. It was a farewell to a friend. Syd Barrett, the founding member of Pink Floyd, had been lost to mental illness. The band missed him deeply, and guilt weighed heavy on their hearts. Roger Waters and David Gilmour poured all that emotion into this song. The longing in Gilmour's guitar and the emptiness in Waters' voice told the story of absence, not death, but disconnection. Barrett was alive, but gone in every way that mattered. Wish You Were Here became one of rock's most haunting tributes, not just to a friend, but to the innocence the band lost along with him. It's a song that asks a question only pain can answer. What do you do when someone you love disappears into themselves? Number 6, Bridge Over Troubled Water. Simon and Garfunkel, 1970. Bridge Over Troubled Water sounded like hope, a promise of comfort and healing. Paul Simon wrote it for Art Garfunkel, and Garfunkel's soaring voice turned it into an anthem for those in pain. But behind the harmony, something was breaking. Their friendship, once unshakable, began to crumble under the pressure of fame. The song that was meant to unite them became the final straw in their partnership. As the record climbed the charts, Simon and Garfunkel grew further apart. It's ironic. The song that promised to lift others up ended up marking the fall of one of music's greatest duos, Bridge Over Troubled Water became both a masterpiece and a farewell. Number 5. Imagine, John Lennon, 1971. Imagine is John Lennon's dream of a better world, one without greed, war, or division. Its simplicity is what makes it powerful, its message eternal. But Lennon's own story turned the song into something heartbreakingly ironic. He sang about peace, but his fame brought him danger. In 1980, Lennon was murdered outside his New York apartment by a man he'd never met. The voice that preached love was silenced by senseless hate. Imagine remains one of the greatest songs ever written, but every time it plays, it carries a shadow. Lennon imagined peace, and the world answered with violence. Number 4. American Pie, Don McLean, 1971. On the surface, American Pie sounds like a nostalgic anthem about rock and roll. But dig deeper, and it's a eulogy, a song written for the day the music died. It mourns the 1959 plane crash that killed Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper. McLean used the loss to symbolize the end of innocence in America, a country losing its soul as the times changed. His lyrics spoke of fading dreams and cultural decay, wrapped in metaphor and melody. The song became an anthem for generations who felt that something pure had been lost. American Pie wasn't just about music. It was about mourning a world that would never be the same again. Number 3, Alone Again, Naturally, Gilbert O'Sullivan, 1972. Gentle in sound but devastating in message, Alone Again, Naturally, speaks of grief, abandonment, and questioning the purpose of life itself. It's a confession from a man trying to find light in endless darkness. The song resonated with millions, especially those who'd faced death or heartbreak. O'Sullivan's calm voice hid the ache of someone who'd seen too much sadness to cry anymore. Behind his fame, he carried the same solitude he sang about. This wasn't just a song about being alone. It was an anthem for everyone who had ever felt forgotten by love, by faith, or by life itself. Number 2, Knockin' on Heaven's Door, Bob Dylan, 1973. Written for the film Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, Knockin' on Heaven's Door became far more than a soundtrack. It captured the quiet dignity of a man facing death, not with fear, but with acceptance. Dylan's voice was calm, almost resigned, as if he knew that knocking on heaven's door is something we all do eventually. The song's simplicity is its strength. No theatrics, no grand emotion, just the sound of peace before the end. Over time, it's become an anthem for funerals, for goodbyes, for moments when words fail. It reminds us that death is not always a scream. Sometimes it's a whisper. Number 1, We've Only Just Begun, The Carpenters, 1970. The Carpenters' We've Only Just Begun sounded like hope, the perfect wedding song, filled with dreams of the future. Karen Carpenter's voice was soft and pure, almost angelic. But behind that perfection was silent suffering. Karen was battling anorexia nervosa, a disorder almost no one understood at the time. The pressure to stay thin, to be flawless, to please everyone, it consumed her life. She smiled for the cameras, but her health was collapsing behind the scenes. In 1983, at just 32, her heart gave out. The song that promised a bright beginning became a cruel reminder of what could have been. We've Only Just Begun was no longer a love song. It became a farewell to an angel gone too soon.